Hello, everyone, and welcome to the DSB Variety Virtual Support Grief Therapy Group. I'm Pam, and we're going to go ahead and we're going to continue with our 6 months and what it was like the first 6 months for me, the information that I can recall when I got the dreadful news that my 17-year-old son was murdered on his way to school. So, we're going to continue with the first 6 month series and again, we talked about how important routine is in recreating our normalcy. So I'm going to go ahead and start with our serenity prayer, which is something that we did in therapy every day as I went for six years to try to get some sense of normalcy, a new normalcy, back to my life as far as being a mother and a wife and just moving forward in my life and how to move forward. So we'll start with the serenity prayer. And hello to you guys who have been here, and hello to the new people as well. Welcome. Okay, so we'll start with the serenity prayer. It says, God grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, courage to change the things I can, and wisdom to know the difference. Living one day at a time, enjoying one moment at a time, accepting hardships as the pathway to peace, taking as he did this sinful world as it is, not as I would have it, trusting that he will make all things right if I surrender to his will, that I may be reasonably happy in this life and supremely happy with him forever in the next. Amen. And although scripture is involved in this was actually written by someone. His name is Reinhold. He's the writer, the author of the Serenity Prayer, and I find it to be very helpful. So, just in creating my routine, that's something that I've taken as a part of my new normalcy is to remember that Serenity Prayer so that I don't put too much on myself. And so, what we want to do now is go into um, what it was like the first 6 months for me when I lost my son. And after I think I stayed off my job for 6 months, and then I went back to work. Because with the benefits that we have, you either go back to work at 6 months or you extend it for a year, and then it goes into a whole nother direction as far as what benefits you have to use at that point. So I felt like, I'm new with this. I've never lost a child. So okay, 6 months I've been off. I'll just go back and I'll do what one of my coworkers used to say, that, we'll do things in baby steps. And so I decided to go ahead and go back to work. My job was very demanding because it was in an executive department. So I decided to go on back to work and, try the baby steps. And so when I got back to work, I'm the type that goes to work early for a few minutes to kind of sit in the parking lot, take things in, and kind of just breathe, or just sit at my desk and drink coffee and eat, whatever I'm going to have, something light for breakfast. That was, my routine before I lost my son. And so now my life was different. And so just sitting in the parking lot full of anxiety and not knowing what to expect, I realized that my life had drastically changed. And so that was the first time I pulled up into my job parking lot at that point as a mother of four instead of a mother of five. And so not even realizing that was going to be an issue, but that was a big issue for me. So I managed to go ahead and get out of the car and go upstairs to my desk. And what was difficult for me is that, you know, thankfully I had a friend that worked with me, and she thought ahead and took my pictures down off my desk because, of course, your desk is full of pictures of your children, and she wasn't sure how I was going to respond, and she just thought that it would be safer to just, take them down. And so when I got back to my desk, they were taken down, and I'm completely OCD at work. So I'm just like, I know that somebody's been on my desk. My desk looks different. So I went back to my desk and I sat down, and and went through all the things you have to go through to get back in the system. And so I'm sitting there and realizing that this is different, that my life is different, my job is different, like everything is changing. And with the department that I worked in, which was executive, I had access to certain files that a normal employee would not have access to. And so my biggest thing was I logged on to my benefits. And when I logged on to my benefits, my son's name was still there. And so that was the beginning of a rude awakening, you know. So I just began to cry at my desk because it just dawned on me again, another reminder that my son was gone and he was not coming back. And so I began to cry and, you know, try to pull it together. And so I called our human resources and I said, hey, I said, can you take my son's name off of this enrollment? I need you to take it off because I can't, you know, look into, I'm sorry guys about the notifications. I should have turned those off, but um, I wanted them to, you know, take his name off so that I, you know, would not have to, you know, deal with that and seeing his name, you know, on there. And so that was difficult for me. Give me a second. I'm going to do some adjusting here. Sorry, guys. Because I'm going to keep getting those notifications and I don't. So anyway, sorry about that. So anyway, I had to do some adjusting, so I called them. They couldn't take it off. They said, we can't take it off because he's going to get claims that are still coming in and we need to be able to pay those claims. And then there are audits that the insurance companies have, and so they have to leave it on there. And so that was devastating for me. So I got away from that part of it. I didn't want to be bothered with that part of it, so I let that part go. And so, you know, as I began to go throughout my day, like everything was different. You know, it was my first time going to the restroom with 4 children. You know, it was my first time going to the cafeteria with 4 children. And everything was just completely horrific for me that day. And so I pushed forward and I pushed through. And so I remember my director calling me into his office and he said, you know, have a seat, you know, sit down. So I sat down and he asked me, he said, you know, how are you doing? And I said, you know, not good. I'm not doing good at all. And so he said to me, he said, well, talk to me. I said, you know, I said, I've been a mother of 5 forever and now I'm a mother of 4. And he said something to me at the time. I didn't really get the impact of it. And so now in hindsight and looking back, I understand what he was saying and it gives me great comfort and pride. And so he said, you know, you'll always be a mother of 5. He says, so when someone asks you how many children you have, you say to them 5 because you'll always be a mother of 5. Even though your son is not here with you physically, you gave birth to him, you raised him. However long God saw fit for him to be here, you are a mother of 5. That does not change that. And so that was so powerful to me later on in my healing process. You know, I called my director. I looked him up after, you know, because he had retired. And I looked him up and we met and I talked to him. And I wanted him to know the impact that he had on my life and what a difference it made in him just, you know, speaking to me that day and just taking the time out to see how I was doing and to say to me, you know, that you'll always be that person. You know, that's something that nobody can take away from me. And so I just want to encourage my mothers to let them know that no one can take that away from you. You know, you'll always, how many children did you have? However many you gave birth to. And that doesn't change. And so I find comfort in that now. And even if you're not in a place where you can find comfort in that, maybe, you know, as you move along your journey, you'll come to that place. Again, it took me years, almost really 9 years to come to terms with what he really said. Super intelligent man, and I really appreciated him even taking the time to notice me, to be there, to be a part of what was going on. Most directors don't have time to really talk to their employees, but it was, quite different for us. It was definitely different. And for him to just pour into me like that just really made a difference. And so I say that to say that a lot of things that if you're in your first 6 months, you may not remember, you may not recall. That's why your journaling is so, so important, to write those things down. For me, I just remember that because it had a huge impact on me. For whatever reason, my subconscious remembered that. And I was able to go back and thank him for that. I remember receiving cards from people from my job, later, that came to me in those first 6 months, of course. And so I didn't read those cards probably until maybe 6 years later. And so many people sent me cards and of condolences regarding my son, the director, the president of our company, just personal cards, not computer generated, just personal cards. And I have to say, in calling out Blue Cross, how good they were to me. They were exceptionally good to me. They pulled together as a team. Right now, today, I don't really know who put together my son's repast. And so, I went back later and tried to thank as many people as I could, because I couldn't remember any everybody who did everything. And so I tried to put together as much as I could. you know um, had I known to journal, I would have, these would have been things that I would have, wrote down, and what my day was like. And that's why journaling is so, so, so important. So it helps you stay on track with what's going on. And so, um, I wanted to talk about, that. um, I remember getting bills in the mail. I know you guys have been there, because the hospitals and the doctors are still going to do what they're going to do. And my thing was, when the bills came, of course we had insurance, so I threw the bills away. I threw them away. I didn't open them. I threw them away. um, I kept some from his primary care doctor because I wanted something with his name on it. But for the most part, anything that came from the hospital, as far as I was concerned, they didn't save my baby. And so I wasn't paying them a dime. So I threw it away. And so I know I got a phone call one day. And so the young lady was saying that, she was calling on behalf of for my son, and regarding his bill. Now, in working in billing, sometimes you don't know, and sometimes you do know that the patient didn't make it. But this young lady didn't know that he didn't make it. So she was calling me about the deductible. So I told her, I said, listen, I said, you didn't save my son. You didn't save him. The news, with their always right self, reported that my son had non-life-threatening injuries and that he was going to live. And so I told her, I said, you didn't save my son. I said, my son died, and he died alone. I said, so whatever money you got from the insurance company is all you're going to get. I said, so please don't call my house again. You know, and the world just kept going on. You know, people would call me and talk about bills and say things like, well, can you, I said, well, I'm not working. I was on leave. I'm, I lost my son. And it was amazing because people were like, well, can you borrow the money? And I was completely blown for the lack of compassion that people have, the lack of empathy that people have. And so, you know, the world kept going, and I was angry. I was angry that the world kept going and just moving on, and my son was dead, and they kept going, and I didn't understand, why was the world going? Why is everybody still functioning and my child is dead? I wanted the world to stop, and we know, or I know now, that that's not a realistic request for the world to stop. It just doesn't work that way. Until something directly impacts people, they just keep going, and some people can't keep going, you know. Um, I stopped. I stopped with my daily routines. I stopped with taking care of the bills. I just stopped, and I was the person that did all of that for our household. And so, it got to a point to where, you know, my husband at the time would have to do everything. I couldn't do anything. The most I could do was drive the kids to school and pick them up if I could remember that, and eat. I put on like 40 pounds because all I did was get up and thought about what I was going to eat for the day, which was very unhealthy. But I wasn't paying attention to what was going on with me, because I was so lost in grief. And I know a lot of people used to talk about people visiting people when you're dead. And I was one of those people, like, I don't believe that stuff. Like, people don't visit you when you're dead. But nonetheless, when I lost my aunt, my grandmother's sister died when I was 18. And I was like, oh gosh, whatever happens, don't come visit me, because I'm not that type of person. Like, don't come visit me. And, ironically, I remember laying, and I'm just being totally, just honest and, transparent. And I was laying in my bed. It wasn't made. There was no sheets on the bed, no covers or anything. And I was laying in my bed. And with the medication that I was taking from my doctor, I was able to go to sleep. And in that comatose sleep, my son came to me. And you know how you hold your spouse, kind of like in a cradle position, like you put your arms around them, or your children who want to sleep with you, you put your arms around them. And my son came and he put his arms around me as if I were the child. And I could hear him as clear as day. It was as real as anything else in my life. And he said, Ma, he said, you can relax. He said, I'm okay. It's okay. I'm okay. You can relax. And so, I woke up in tears because I didn't believe in, you know, experiencing things like that. All I know is that I felt the comfort of my son. I felt him visit me. I felt him say that, you're going to be okay, Mom. It's okay. You're going to be okay. You can relax. I'm okay. And again, I woke up in tears, and that was an eye opener for me, because I had never, of course, experienced anything like that, because of course I never experienced a death like that. And so, just a lot was going on those first 6 months. My son was an organ donor. I had the people calling me to, donate his organs, and I had to say to them, and being polite, can you give me tomorrow? Will the organs be okay if you just give me to tomorrow? Because if not, if there's something I need to do today, I want to do it, because that's the purpose of us, my entire family, being an organ donor, is that someone else can live if we don't. So she said, no, she said, it'll be fine. You can call me tomorrow. I said, okay. So if you can please call me tomorrow, because I probably won't remember. If you can call me tomorrow, I'll do whatever it is I need to do so that, his organs can be used to save another life. And so that was something I had to deal with. Um, I just remember my friends coming over, and just everybody, just the house was full of people, and just, having to sit down and hold it together to write your child's obituary and plan the ceremony. It's completely hard. And so when you look at someone, and this is for my family members, my friends, when you have to sit down and plan your child's funeral services, it's not like a graduation. It's not like a wedding. It's not. It's a horrible feeling to have to sit down, because that realization kicks in again that says, you know what? I'm burying my child. I'm burying my child. I'm planning his funeral, and so you have to pick pictures, and you have to do so much. And I'm so thankful for the people that were put in my life to help me get through those moments. But it's a horrible thing, and so my church asked me, they said, well, do you want to record the funeral? And I didn't want to record the funeral. And, they talked to me and said, you feel that way now, but later you may want to see that. And I'm so glad that, that our Miss Pat from our prayer team, brought that to my attention. And so that I was able to go back and look at my son's services, because a lot of it I just didn't remember. I really didn't. I just completely blanked out. It looked like I was heavily involved, but a lot of it I missed. A lot of people faces I didn't see. So this is to help people understand, what it's like. It's like you're numb when you lose your child and you're at this funeral. And even though we may smile, we're still numb. And at some point you forget why you're there, that it's not a celebration, that you're burying your child. And so people are eating and they're laughing and they're smiling, and you're talking to them, and then all of this noise, and then all of a sudden everybody's gone and it's quiet. And so you're alone. And I think the best thing that I've ever heard at a funeral service say is that, Wednesday night is my thing. Wednesday night Bible study is my thing. And so this particular pastor, the person that passed away Wednesday night, he said, don't forget about, the family on Wednesday night. Pick up the phone, call them, send them a text, check on them, see how they're doing. Don't forget to check on your loved ones. Even if they don't respond, they'll remember later who checked on them. I remember who checked on me. I remember who called me. I remember who was there for me. I remembered it much later, but I remembered it. So don't think that they're just ignoring you if they don't respond. It's a very, very heavy load to carry. So I wanted to bring that up. I wanted to talk about the late nights. The late nights in the first 6 months. Who did I talk to? Who could I call that would understand what I went through? Because you can't just call anybody. You have to call somebody that A, either knows God and knows how to pray, or B, somebody who's been through what you've been through, because everybody's journey is still going to be different. And I used to call my aunt and I would ask her, like, how did you do it? I would call my son's grandmother because his father was killed when he was 25, and my son was 15 months old at the time. And so I called his mother and I was like, how do you do it? Like, what do you do? How do you do it? And she said, you just take it one day at a time. And so even in that, I still didn't know to indulge and know that I needed a plan. And, winging it is just too hard, And so I found that structure. I'm a structured person, So if you're really a structured person, then having a structured day is really important. So I wanted to talk about that. And then I wanted to cover, before we wrap it up, about the guilt. We as parents, we carry guilt, and we think to ourselves that, what could I have done differently? Maybe I didn't do something right, or, we start blaming ourselves. And no one has the right to take somebody's life, no matter what. Nobody has the right to take somebody's life. So I want to say that in the grieving process, guilt is a part of it. We're going to always have the woulda, coulda, shoulda, what could I have done? But the truth of the matter is that we all have a day that we have to go. And it doesn't make it better, it doesn't make it feel good, but we can't beat ourselves up with guilt. And I used to think to myself, if I had just drove him to school that day, if he didn't just, walk, if I had drove him, he'd still be here, what could I have done differently? And so you can't beat yourself up about it. You have to trust that as parents, we do the best that we can, with what we're dealing with. We do the best that we can, whether our children are being rebellious, whether they're not, whether they're just caught in the crossfire, whatever the reason is, we're always going to have woulda, coulda, shouldas. What could I have done differently, and we can't do that to ourselves, because we're trying to heal. Beating ourselves up about it is not going to change our situation. So we have to focus on those things that are positive, that are going to help us move forward. And so when we come to the realization that this is our new reality and we have to do something to change it, we have to actively, and it's hard, but we have to actively be a part of it. Again, people don't genuinely really see about their mental health if it's not connected to their job, if it's not connected to their finances. Then they'll do most of the time what they need to do. Mine was connected to my job, but I was also not in any condition to be at my job. So, taking care of your mental health when you experience a loss like this is so important. There are places out there you can Google for free. We're going to have our monthly group sessions live where we talk about things. If you have questions, we're going to still do some of our private sessions where it's just us, where we can just kind of relax and just, talk without feeling judged. We're going to still have those. So if you want to be a part of those, please, please, please make sure that you let me know. We have our Facebook page, which is under the DSB Variety Community. Our Instagram is under the same thing, the DSB Variety Community. We have our website, which is dsbvarietycommunity.org. And again, our website is dsbvarietycommunity.org. That's our website. It also tells you about the other things that we do with our nonprofit organization in the community. So if you want to be a part of that, all of that's on there, as well as on our Facebook page. Or you can email us. Our email address is the dsbvarietycommunity@yahoo.com. All this information is on our Facebook page, so you can get it there. You can send us a message here on YouTube. You can drop notes behind. Most importantly, we want you to like and subscribe and share this video, because we want to help people get through this the best way that we know how, and not alone. And we don't want people to feel alone in their grief. We can't control people's lack of respect for life, but we can support each other through this. And that's the whole point in us doing the virtual therapy and creating this YouTube channel. So at your leisure, you can go ahead and just log on to the videos, get yourself some encouragement. As we build and grow, we're going to have videos that just say, you know what, I need to be encouraged. And we'll be on there just doing encouraging things only. So, as we grow, we're going to get into that. I just wanted to, again, remind you that in order to create a new normalcy, we have to be active in it. So the first thing we want to do in the mornings is get up earlier than what we used to. Or if whatever our shift is, move it 30 minutes earlier. And we want to assess our emotions and assess how we feel. And so whatever they are, if you're not in a good place, put on some music or do whatever it is you do that's healthy. Healthy is the key to change your mood, because you can control your mood. And again, if you're at work and you need to adjust it, step out for a moment. Take your phone with you. There's always so much on there that you can adjust yourself. If you need to post your serenity prayer up at your desk, post your serenity prayer. If you need to breathe and take a minute, breathe and take a minute. Say your serenity prayer. Whatever it is that you need to do to create your new normalcy, because you're in control of your healthiness. Nobody else. Nobody else can do it for you. You have to do it for yourself. So even something as simple as a serenity prayer in your bathroom, a serenity prayer at your desk, serenity prayer in your car, whatever it is you need to do. I wake up every morning to Kurt Carr Sanctuary. That's what my alarm goes off to. I wake up to that. That's the mood I want to be in. I want to be in a thankful mood. I want to be in a praise mood. And that's the mood I wake up in. So don't forget to journal at night, journal your feelings, journal your day. Even if you don't feel like writing a lot, just write a little bit before you start your shower, when you're laying down, to capture these moments so you can see yourself progress. Because remember, grieving is not, oh, okay, I'm happy today. Grieving is an up and down, and it's a continuous process. And as long as you know you're going through a continuous process of ups and downs, it may look crazy to the outside world, but as long as you're moving and you're not stuck in one spot of depression, then understand and know that you're healing. And it starts with self-assessment every morning. And I set my alarm, like I told you guys, I set my alarm to remind me to pray. I have a very busy life, so I use my Alexa to my advantage, and I set it to pray. So I want to thank you guys for joining us. I hope that this information was helpful. I wanted to also, before I go, talk to you guys about this book that my children and I are reading. If you can see that, it's probably backwards. It's called Restart Your Heart. And the author of this book is Jentezen Franklin, and you probably can find it on Amazon. I picked it up at a local store, but it's called Restarting Your Heart. And what it is it's different pages. It's not like a thorough book, but it's different pages of encouraging scriptures and really encouraging daily read to help you restart your heart. So I think this is an excellent book that me and my three children are reading, because my 17-year-old is busy with school and college stuff. So we don't, I don't want to distract him from that. But this is a really good book to read. It's called Restart Your Heart. And again, you may find it on Amazon. And the author is Jentezen Franklin, and that's spelled J as in Jack, E as in Edward, N as in Nancy, T as in Tom, E as in Echo, Z as in Zebra, E as in Echo, N as in Nancy, Franklin. Great book to restart your heart. Something to encourage yourself, a morning read every day to encourage yourself to restart your heart. So thank you guys for listening. Again, like and share this video. If you know someone that's lost someone, refer them to our Facebook page, our Instagram. Have them reach out to us so that they can be a part of our private group for virtual therapy sessions. And, we just want to help. That's what we're here for. We want to help. And my biggest thing is for no one to feel like they're alone in this, or that they're judged in their pain, because nobody can judge you on something that they've never been through. And nobody should be judging anyone anyway. We're supposed to be loving on everybody and helping everybody. And if we all just had that positive attitude, oh, what a world we would live in. So thank you guys for joining. I hope you learned a lot, and we'll see you next time. Thank you.